Hello, everybody. How are you doing? I'm Ronique West, one of your Fly Nubian Queen contributors. I know you haven't seen my face in a while, but it's very critical that we talk today about the modern day Moses that you see on the screen with me. That's what I call him. I don't think he knew that I gave him a nickname, but I did. His mission is to really get out water to every community. I would say probably across the globe eventually, but definitely here in the US. So we're going to get into this conversation today. But before we get into this conversation, as you come into the room, I need you to share out this broadcast. I also need you to go ahead and tag your family members, tag your friends. I need you to begin to tag people because this conversation is going to be so critical today. I know a lot of times you come on the platform, you may hear about trending topics and so forth, but today we're going to have a real conversation because it's on us to be prepared. And so it was so critical that I get Moses West on here from the Moses West Foundation to discuss this critical topic today, which is so relevant with what's going on in Texas and now Jackson, Mississippi. So let's get into this. But I wanted to make sure you go to flynubianqueen.com. Make sure you subscribe. Text Queens to 31996 so you can know when any of us are going live. And then be sure that you let me know what city you are tuning in from so I can definitely shout you out later on the broadcast. And then if you want to learn about money, go to flynubianmoney.com. Now, let me introduce to you our guest right now while we wait for people to come into the room. Moses West. His story is pretty large. He's very ambitious. As you can see, he's a young man, I'm going to say, but you're going to hear about everything he's done. And you're going to be like, oh, no, he's not young, but he looks so young, right? And he is a self-described military brat. He was born in Georgia, moved to Germany, and then spent most of his childhood in Houston, Texas. He served 3 years at an Army Ranger. Then he went to flight school and pilot school as well in Shughnik, and he served in the Army for over 20 years. And now his mission is to get water to everybody. But I kind of want to tell you about, tell us a little bit, Moses, about why are you so passionate about water right now? And how did you get that passion? And then, you know, how did you tie science into that? And so forth. I want to kind of tell us a little bit more about your background and your story. How did you even get on this mission?
Well, I got on the mission because as I did a lot of traveling around the world. I lived in Australia for 11 years after I got out of the military. So basically, I've lived outside of the United States more years than I lived in it. So traveling around the world, I got to see and experience other cultures and what was important to them and what was changing with them. And then after coming back to the United States and living here in Texas, we constantly were going through these droughts. And I've been in some military situations where we ran out of water or didn't have enough water. And I was in the Middle East. And I tell you, it to be out of water, you start to panic. And so I was looking at that. And growing up, I was also around springs and natural habitat all the time. And so that's what gave me an interest in water, because I knew with the changing climate from my world travels that we were going to have to do something to sustain ourselves in the future. And this idea of water, I started picking up on that because I've always been related to it as a child. You know, even though my name is Moses, that's my God-given name. It's my great-grandfather's name, but I'm kind of almost living up to that name in a way by concentrating on water. And that's how I got into it. It's just being related to it all my life.
All my life. Okay. So now why, you know, this is so critical topic today. And I want to kind of talk about infrastructure because, you know, and start the conversation off with the infrastructure, because I think for me, I get up every day and I expect my lights to come on. I expect to be able to turn on my water and, you know, drink water out the faucet if I don't have a filter, but I keep bottled water, or I have a filter, or I have a water machine that I use, purified water or whatever. And I expect everything to work on a normal basis. But I noticed that, as we just get so comfortable in the United States with everything just constantly working, and we've seen what just happened with everyone in Texas and now in Jackson, Mississippi, and in Flint, Michigan, we sometimes just forget that it could happen to our city, or it could happen to where we're living at. And we don't even pay attention to the basics anymore. Where is our food supply coming from? Where is our water supply coming from? We know it's an infrastructure failure that is happening within the United States, that they're been arguing, going back and forth about $4.5 trillion to really go through and just redo the infrastructure so far. and everything, and then the power supply. But I think sometimes we just think that our phones are going to work. We think the internet's going to work. We think the banking system's going to always be up. We think that just everything's going to be normal. Can you kind of talk about what's going on in Texas and how you're passionate about getting the water out to the communities with your machine, how this possibly could have been prevented?
Very much so. From coast to coast, from California to New York and everything in between, we have this system, this infrastructure system. It's our highways, it's our gas piping, it's our railroad system, it's our grid, it's our electrical system. It's everything that we use to move from one side of the country to the other. Infrastructure. If you get into an airplane and the infrastructure of the airplane is bad, if the airplane goes into any kind of trouble, the airplane is going to crash. And so right now in the United States, this infrastructure where we should have been putting tax dollars into the infrastructure to repair it, which would give Americans jobs, and we would be a faster running country. Like when you have high-speed internet, your computer's faster. Well, right now it's like you're like the United States internet is running across a dirt road full of potholes. That's how fast, that's our infrastructure. We didn't put anything into it. And we just got a wake-up call of what we are facing. This infrastructure that we have is set to operate within temperatures of your normal temperatures of 4 seasons: winter, spring, summer, and fall. That's what we all know: winter, spring, summer, and fall. But now that we've put so much carbon into our atmosphere, where there's this place, it was called a tipping point. You get here, and then all of a sudden you go too far this way and you can't come back this way. A tipping point in the climate. What we just experienced here in Texas with our weak infrastructure is a climate change catastrophe. This climate change catastrophe that we just experienced, this is the norm. This is going to be normal. If you don't have your infrastructure built up to repair this, what we felt here in Texas, and the number of people who died under this in this situation is much higher than what they're saying. We've had people freeze to death, people from carbon monoxide poisoning. That's from weak infrastructure in a first world country. And so now that we have this, we've lost our 4 seasons and we basically have 2, hot and cold, hot and cold. And that's going to be the norm. And if you look, you can research and you can find places where the ocean current is now starting to slow down because we put so much fresh water into the ocean from freshwater melt. So this circulatory system that moves, that the salt water floats above and the cold water, fresh water dives beneath, and it mixes up and it all becomes this one big circulating system around the planet, which carries warm waters or cooler waters to certain areas, certain times of the year. Well, that's starting to slow down with drastic effects globally for our food production, rainfall, and so forth. And with a weak infrastructure that is not designed or set up for extremes, we have to spend money on that. It has to be for extreme heat and for extreme cold temperatures, very low temperatures. So we're in some place, this happy medium where, we all got a margarita and a little umbrella on the cup. No, right now we need like an igloo cooler for our system because we're in climate change. And the infrastructure in the United States is not set up for what we're facing.
Wow. And so talk a little bit about, you kind of just dropped on me about the 2 seasons. And it's just so funny. I was sitting outside talking to like my executive assistant about some work that we were getting ready to do. And one of the neighbors walked past and she was just like, you know what? The weather used to be like we had more seasons and this, that, and I mean, this just literally happened hours ago. And now it's just like, I ain't gonna be able to get out and walk, during the summertime like I am right now. Like, just like I'm enjoying this weather, but it's actually pretty warm for us to be in, January, February. Now we're going into March, but it's still pretty warm. And I know it's going to be an extremely hot summer. And here you're talking about 2 seasons and how that really impacts water and everything. But tell us a little bit more about your machine. Now we got more people in the room. Let's talk a little bit more about your technology that you have. You literally have made a machine that makes water from air. So let's kind of explain, how did you even get on this path? How did you begin this process? What made you even start to do this? And let's kind of talk about later on where your machines are today.
Okay. Well, I started the first time I ever saw a machine. I was in Hawaii. I had a next door neighbor, and he wasn't getting along with my partner. So one day, kind of had to make this peace. So I came outside and we were talking at our front doors in Hawaii. You know, everything's louvered windows. You can hear everything that goes on inside of an apartment. So he had this little machine sitting inside of his living room, and I saw that little machine, and he said it makes water out of the air. So that's great. So he goes, try glass. It's really good. He goes, I sell these things. And I said, okay. So I tried the water, and the water was absolutely fantastic. I thought about it for a second too. It gave me pause because I said, well, if it's sitting in his house and it's taking moisture, that's moisture's coming from everywhere. It's coming from his breath. It's coming from his bathroom. It's coming from everywhere. But then the science behind it, basically, is just grabbing the H2O molecule. So this little machine was absolutely amazing to me. I know the guy was probably thinking, when is he going to leave my house? But I was just looking at the machine. And he was happy to talk. So, and when I was sitting there, I was calculating in my head how big I could get this. I started the minute that I saw it. And then when I left there, I took pen, paper, and I started writing. And then when I got back to the United States, I filed my first patent on the technology, never having done anything with it in the patent issue. So when I go into something, I really immerse myself into it. And I had never gotten a patent before, but I gave it my first shot on atmospheric water generating technology, and I got the patent. It's an old patent now because I've surpassed that knowledge of what I had then. And that's how I got into it. And then being a Texan, I always said, well, you know what? You can always make something bigger, better, and badder. A Georgian transplanted to Texas. Got to make that clear. I'm from Georgia, all right?
Yes. So now, go ahead.
I'm a Southern guy.
You're a Southern guy. You're definitely a Southern guy. And you have created like something that's going to be necessary for all our communities as, you know, the infrastructure continues to fail, as water begins to, you know, we're not taking care of our planet. So we know that water is going to become scarce. And unfortunately, it's became a monopoly, I would say, you know, because we're playing with, you know, the money in the water and this, that, and other. And how can we sell it?
I got to add something to that. Okay. One thing that we've done here as a society, we've forgotten a lot that we learned in school. Some of that basic stuff. You know, if you go out in the street and tell someone they get a flat tire in their car, it's okay, change. You got a spare and everything in your trunk and change it. They'll look at you like you're crazy. They don't even know what a jack is anymore. So there's all this knowledge that we had that we forgot about that's really basic. This is basic knowledge. We are not going to run out of water. We have technology. I mean, they're putting stuff up. They're using digital printers to put buildings on the moon. They're digitally printing buildings, digitally printing weapons. They're making cell phones faster than the home computer. That's technology, but that's technology that makes you sit on your butt and not get up and go do something, occupies your mind sitting there looking at a little screen. Whereas what you need to do, see these things here? And toolboxes in your hands. This is how you survive. This is how you live. And so we're not running out of water. What I've done is I've taken technology that exists, that Birdseye created. This technology is so old. And what it did, it produced a lot of water. And so we have 3 sources of water, and everybody says, oh my God, we're running out. And the one that gets me all the time is like when I got to Puerto Rico with a big machine on the island of Vieques, oh my God, it was 98 degrees. It was 90% humidity. And I show up with this big machine and everybody's running around trying to find bottles of water. And this is like my hold my beer moment. And so they were looking at the big box and everybody's like, yeah, that thing's not going to do anything. The next thing they knew, they came back the next day and I had 2,200 gallons of water pumped out of the air. You're not running out of water. You have 3 sources of water. You have a liquid, you have a solid, and you have a gas. So they want to turn water into a commodity. Let them try. You cannot take air from people. As long as you have access to air anywhere a certain latitude, all the way down to the equatorial zones of the world, you can produce as much water as you want off of sunlight and air. I have the knowledge, I have the patents, I have the engineers, I have the know-how to do it. You're not running out of water. Don't let them fool you on that one.
So we're not running out of water. So make sure when the stuff comes out and saying that we're out of water, remember this interview. This is why I'm telling you to tag your family, to make sure you let everyone know. Share this broadcast. Put it in your, in your favorites. Put it in your phone. Do what you need to do to make sure you can come back to this. But then also at the end, when Moses gives out his information, take down his information for his foundation, his contracting company, and so forth, so you can be in contact with them, so you can begin to prepare your community. And I know a lot of us are talking about doing villages and this, that, and the other. Here's your water supply source, everybody. So this is why this interview was so critical for us to do today, especially in a time where it's very relevant with what we're seeing happening to our, community in Texas, to our community in Jackson, Mississippi, and in Flint. Can you tell us more about the machine that's in Flint and how did it get there? Because I think, me being an advocate for the community constantly and thinking about like infrastructure and the basics, because that's my biggest concern right now, that nobody's paying attention to the basics. And we're going to miss some opportunities here. And we know hurricane season is coming up. We know that climate change is real. We know everything that's happening. And so how did that machine get in Flint? Was it just more of effort of the community? Did the government in Flint help you with that? And then kind of tell us about how that machine runs and how much water it actually supplies to Flint, Michigan.
Well, here's how that machine got to Flint. When I was in Puerto Rico, there was a group called the Sister Tour, and they were over in they were over in Puerto Rico, and somebody passed by in a truck on mainland Puerto Rico with these white 2-gallon FEMA jugs of water. They were charging $5 a gallon for water in Puerto Rico on the mainland after the hurricane of pure water. And so they had come over to me and they filled up the back of the pickup trucks, came across on the ferry because water was so expensive, it was worth the trip. And so I was filling those up, and someone from the Sister Tour got a case of water from a guy on a truck. And then they came over to visit me on the other side of the island. And then the Sister Tour asked me, they said, hey, when you finish with this, they did a little video, it's online. And I was there. I was extremely busy. I was trying to give people water, 5-gallon cans, 2-gallon cans, little jugs, everything they had. There was just lines of people all the time. And this is what we're actually running off of. I think we were running on diesel at the time, but then we also switched to solar power. Mm-hmm. And so when they said, promise us that you'll come to Flint. And I said, I'll try my best. And they just said, promise us. So if I make a promise, I got to keep it. All right. Because
otherwise, I remember that. Everybody remember that. If he makes a promise, he got to keep it.
So you won't get me to commit. I'll just be quiet.
Okay.
I just won't answer my phone. So I promised that I'd do it. And I said, okay, but I got to come across another machine like this one because I built 2. Mm-hmm. And my devious partners took another one in my other company. So their machine didn't work. So one of the partners, when he finally kind of just said, hey, you know what? We got this big machine sitting out here, and we know you did it now because nobody's ever got it to work. It says, if you can get it to work, you can do with it what you want. I said, okay. So he, being one of my business partners, he flew us on a plane. We went out to the desert, and there was my machine sitting in the desert. I could have kissed it. I pulled the machine out. I had it operating in 30 minutes. And there were people there, they wanted to start crying. They said, this is the first time. We've never seen the machine work. You show up for 30 minutes, it's working. I said, do with it what you want. I said, good, because I built it. And so we took it to Flint, Michigan. So that's how the machine got to Flint. When it got to Flint, I could tell you story after story after story of people. A lady who got to move into her house because we gave her 500 gallons of water. She was able to clean her house. She couldn't vacate her house, so she was homeless for 5 years. So 4 years. So I gave her, she goes, I said, can I have a lot of water? I said, yeah, how much you need? She goes, 500 gallons. I said, okay. Because we're always running. Mm-hmm. We need to make more water. We just run later at night. So gave her 500 gallons of water, and she came back and she told us what she did. Little kids with little splotches in their hair was falling out. They needed clean water. People with cancer needed to drink cleaner water. So we were making water on donations and giving it away to people. And then we were ordered to shut the machine down from my old company, the deviousness that takes place. And then as the machine sat there, the church, they said, Moses, we're out of water again. Is there any way you can help us out? I said, yeah, what I can do is, so we did like a little clandestine mission. I flew up there and we turned the machine back on Juneteenth.
Nice. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love the mission. I love that it happened on Juneteenth. So
yeah.
yes.
Flew up there, jumped off the plane one day in Detroit, drove down the next day, took the machine out. Otis and Randy, we went through all the filters, cleaned everything. I'm rushing. And then all the people started coming out because I had come back. And they saw Otis and Randy and everybody and the pastor of Flint and the sister tour and everything was just, the neighborhood was just coming back again. And we got the machine out, fired it up. I made sure everything was working great, making water. I left the generator with them, signed for everything, got back on a plane and came home. And they made water again.
That, I don't even know how, it's amazing to me that we have you sitting in, where you are, your location, is undisclosed, of course, and that you have created a machine that can provide water in a matter of crisis. You provide water in Flint. You provided water during Hurricane Maria for Puerto Rico. And that is so many communities that are without clean water right now. And, we know Texas and we know that Jackson, Mississippi now, which it was so shocking to me that 150,000 of their residents are without water right now and have been for weeks. And here we are, have the technology that is sitting right here that can honestly be in these communities to solve this issue, help to solve this issue. That can be an ecosystem where it all works together. And we have people that are suffering. And I get very upset, just to be honest, when people suffer for no reason. Because we have this technology that exists, it's patent, it's out, it's in every single procurement office, probably because you're procured with the military, where it can be purchased for the communities. But let me do a re-up real quick. Some people just came into the room. So I'm talking to Moses West. He has created, a machine that can make water out of air. This is such a critical topic as we're dealing with climate change, infrastructure failure. If you don't know what could happen, really begin to look at the stories that's going on in Texas. Look at Jackson, Mississippi, as we have cities who are going without water. We're talking about cities that are heavily populated now. We're not talking about the rural areas anymore. We're not talking about areas that, this can't happen to me because I'm in a city. We're talking about where you think that you can get up and then you're going to be able to drink your water and you may be under a boil advisory. Or you may not supposed to be drinking the water. You can't use the water that's there. Then what is your solution, especially if you're not prepared? But before we get more into this conversation, I need to make sure that you go to flynewqueen.com. With a network for melanated people. Text Queens to 31996 so you can find out when all of us go live. There's a lot of queens on this network. You got Vicky Diller, you got Jade, you got all my sisters and so forth that are on here. Make sure you always connect with us because we are the new Black media. So we're giving you the real deal. You're not going to see this on CNN. You're not going to see this on Fox News. You're going to get the real news so that we can begin to really help our community and be prepared for what is coming quickly and what's already here. So I think we have to really begin to take hold of that. It's for each of us to begin to really get prepared, begin to be able to help our neighbors, begin to be able to understand our resources that are out there that we may not have been aware of. But that's why I thought it was so critical I do this interview with you today. So I appreciate you because I know you're a busy man and I know this is probably one of the last interviews you're doing. I'm here to let you cover that later. So I'm hoping just to do it justice, but make sure you share out this broadcast, whatever network you're on. Be sure to tag your family members. Be sure to share this with your friends and save this broadcast. I guarantee you're going to need this information. It's going to be critical. Now, Mr. West, I was kind of listening to one of your interviews earlier today, kind of doing my research and so forth. And I was just interested in, you were talking about the sky falling and that you were kind of warning the politicians and so forth, saying, hey, this is what's really coming. This is what's going on. we got to get our communities prepared. Can you tell us just a little bit more about your advocacy and what you have been doing over the years and how long?
Oh, let's see. Since the first time I saw the technology was 2013. I started working on it in 2014. I started the approval process with the state of Texas in 2015 with the Texas Commission of Environmental Quality in combination with the United States military, Texas military forces, Texas Water Development Board. The water quality tests are done by the Lower Colorado River Authority, the LCRA. So we're all up on the federal level with the approval of the process of this. In the state of Texas, we can actually become a public water system by doing a 90-day pilot project, having 25 people drink the water. The TCEQ will do the evaluation, and they will sign you off as a PWS, a public water system. That means you can put one of my systems in, then you could be a water company in the state of Texas. And we also thought about regulating the atmosphere as a source of water because there's so much water in the air. So basically, to get this thing started, 5 years ago, I was very impassioned when I told everybody in the state of Texas in these different agencies. I said, we have 5 years until the wheels fall off the bus. Because I follow what the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change says. I follow what was going on in Australia because I was in Australia. And I tell you, I'm not drinking water they redirect to the pipe that came from somebody's toilet. I'm not drinking it, And that's what was happening in Australia because the drought was so bad. I didn't even want to take a shower in it. But reclaiming good water, but not when I know how to make it, it's not. So basically, I have been telling everybody, the United States military, they're on to this. They buy machines from me. The Marines just bought a bunch of machines from me. Hopefully, I'll get a large order from them, and I'll take all my profit. I'll put it back in my foundation, and I'll make machines, and I'll give them away. That's how I feel about this. But I let everybody know that you had a limited amount of time to get ready for what's coming, because I knew the infrastructure was bad. I knew our pipes were bad. I knew that we have disenfranchised neighborhoods that don't have food. We have a name for it. We call them food deserts.
Food deserts. Yes.
Like when I drive from here, because I do this walk at the Grand Canyon. It's a very spiritual thing for me. I start from the top, go to the bottom in one day, and then come back, sit there, and it's just fantastic. But between here and there, I can't find any organic food. And organic food is what saves your life with this COVID virus, which I've had a couple of times now. And I'm still here. It's because I take really good care of myself. I eat good food, healthy food. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I don't do all the things that they told you to do, which is what will get you with a virus if you don't have good organic food. Your body has to have a way to fight. And it can't fight if you're putting sugar into a machine that needs, organics. And so I tried to get everybody on board with this, because I knew the system was going to break. And now that the system is broke, I can't, I really don't want to, I answer my phone, but sometimes I don't want to, because what I hear on the other side is I hear absolute panic. It's like, get somebody to buy us a machine, get somebody to help us. We need one machine. But yet, when I build machines here, I have to my guys test them on the floor. They put it inside the building. And they're making so much water from the air inside the building that they're filling 5-gallon water jugs and taking them home every day. They don't have bottled water at home. When I build machines, they just run the machines and make water and they take it home.
And then they take it home.
Right. And so those machines that are going out to the government are sitting over there. They're paid for and built for the government. And there's people over here less than 10 miles away that don't have any water in their neighborhood. So if somebody has the money to buy a machine and put it in that neighborhood, teach the people how to use the machine, how to operate it, and then men, women work together. The kids learn how to do it. STEM, part of the education system on renewables. Put it on solar power. The kids learn about direct current, alternating current. They learn about pump systems. They learn about hydroponics. They learn about the hydrologic cycle, and they learn sustainability. This machine connected with solar in a neighborhood is a STEM laboratory for a high school. and it makes every neighborhood that didn't have a grocery store or bottled water, it makes them more sufficient. I'm one person. I've deployed twice. I stopped counting how much water I made 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I've made over 1 million gallons of water by myself on my own. I'm one person who's made 1 million gallons of water.
Wow. I don't even know. I mean, this is why I call you the modern day Moses. I know you're very like grounded and like, no, you know, probably whatever, but you to me are telling us that, hey, we have an issue. I've created a solution that can help with this. It's going to get worse. How can we now come together as a community and make sure that this solution is out for everyone? And I'm not even looking to, you know, of course you need to make, you know, compensated for your time and your team and this, that, and other, but you're really looking to solve the solution for the communities that are now suffering without water. And we know more communities are going to go into this whatever, for whatever reason, because of the shenanigans and the bureaucracy and the propaganda and the need to make a profit, you know, whatever it may be, but we have a adequate solution. So we get some questions. So I want to kind of get into some of these questions, Mr. West, before I let you go, because I know your time is valuable. But do you have anything else you want to say before I get into any questions?
Well, yes, other than this being one of my last interviews that I'm going to do from the state of Texas, I'm going to teach this. I'm leaving soon as I build these machines for California. And California is probably going to be the first state in the United States, even ahead of my state, outside the United States military, to see this technology in operation for putting in education systems throughout the state.
Wow. So California is going to put it throughout all the state, or can you give us that information, or is it going to be just in certain parts of the state of California?
I'll leave it at that for right now. I don't want to trip over and mess anything up because everything can get mixed up. But yes, I'm on my way to California.
Okay.
They need this technology bad. And California is actually the first place where when I was doing all my design work and everything, I was sending it to them for the mass production of water. So that's where I started. So everything's come full circle.
Wow. It's going full circle now. Okay. So let's get into the questions real quick. But before we get into the questions, make sure you text Queens to 31996 so you can know when any of us go live, and make sure that you are subscribed to flynewbqueen.com. You know, share out this broadcast, subscribe to the Facebook page. If you're watching this on a different page, make sure you subscribe, share it out. Tag people below, especially, you know, people who are even in Texas, you know, let them know about this technology, but really they need to contact their commissioners and their politicians and talk about, hey, we want Moses West machine that is sitting in Flint, Michigan. We want it here in our community. That's what really needs to occur, what needs to happen. Now, ideally, we got a question. How much water is actually supplied in Flint? We didn't get into that. Can be supplied on a regular basis, on a daily basis. How many gallons can your machine, you said it kind of earlier, but just if you could repeat that for us, your machine can actually supply. And I know you can make your machines based off of the need of gallons. So if you could talk a little bit more about that for us.
Anywhere from the smallest machine, anywhere from minimum 100 all the way up to 2,200 gallons a day.
Oh wow! So you can make the machine as big as much as possible. Can you go into the cost of the machine? We did get that question, but somebody's asking like, what is the range of cost? If you can share that, or you just whether get contacted, your team get contacted.
Just contact Dexter Moon at Dexter@awgcontractingus.com. I stay out of. That's my contracting officer. He's an NCO. I was an officer. I stay out of the NCO's business. That's
okay. So I'll get his email later, and I'll drop it down in the comments so that you guys can have his information. Now we did get another.
I'm sorry for a second. What you have to remember too is, look, when I build a machine, I build it here in the United States. I'm not building anything in China. So when I build a machine, everybody who's working on a machine, it's like I took a gentleman from Flint. And we went all the way down to my manufacturing plant that was in Wisconsin. And I paid him myself to help me build 2 machines at that manufacturing plant. And so, Otis and I did that, and I paid him the wage that he deserved for that. And so all that, it goes back into the machine. So everybody who's building a machine for me, they can buy a car, they can pay for their house, they can do what they need to do. My overhead, my company, I have my overhead is so low. Okay. I put it all back into the company and the wages for the people who build the machines. So hence there's a little bit of a price difference. And also everything is American made.
Yes. So American made, employing Americans, and solving American community problems. Okay.
Living wage.
Yes, living wage. This is all, this is a full ecosystem you have created. And even from education, because I don't want to skip what you talked about a little bit with the children and talking about STEM. And really, this is going to be something that they're going to be dealing with in our lifetime, but really pertinent for their lifetime, and being able to create an ecosystem where they now have a water supply, where they can have organic food that they can grow, that they can then eat. That's another critical ecosystem that I don't want to skip over.
The United Nations, they put their 17 tenets of sustainability, 17. The United Nations put this out that the entire planet needs to go to teaching this. And throughout Texas, 48 states, they teach this process in school, the 17 tenets of sustainability. That's part of the end of year school exam. And adding this technology, the water generator with solar power and the hydroponic garden, making water yourself, you beat all 17 tenets of sustainability. So every school in the United States, if you had a water generator, solar power, a hydroponic garden, one, we wouldn't be having this problem right now, because the school down in Far Texas, Mario's school down in Far Texas, when they ran out of food down there, the school had enough food growing to give fresh fruits and vegetables to the food bank. High school kids did this at one school. If every school in the United States is teaching STEM, and they have this system in place, every kid at that school is learning what he and she needs for the future. Not only cooperation and working together and equality as men and women through all shades of skin color, but they're learning power, they're learning sustainability, they're learning food production, healthy food production, how to eat, how to write a lesson plan, scientific reasoning, critical thinking, critical thought, using their hands and being more active and getting back into being in a healthier body. So this system that I've developed, it's a gift to the world. And I keep saying that I will not be here forever, but I show hope in the time that I am here that people pick up on this, because people are dying today. And I've been doing this for 8 years. And I'm sad to see everything that I said come true, but we all knew it was going to happen.
It's, my heart just kind of aches when you say that, because we know that it's like really happening, that people are dying today, or worse, not worse than dying, but also getting autoimmune diseases because they don't have access to clean, fresh water. And so that they're going to have diseases they have to live with, that their kids are going to have to live with, learning disabilities. I know I read a lot about that's coming out of Flint because of all the water issues they've had, and how, the learning has disabilities have went up in that state or city. And I just don't know what to say. I just really wanted to do this interview today. I knew I had to make time to make sure it happened. I'm happy you made time. I'm hoping the people in the ears that need to see this, and it spreads to where it needs to go, for those who have the resources to pull into these communities to get these things that are so critical and so in need, that it happens.
I have to tell you that when I was in Flint, there's the professor. He's by Bonavides. He's the guy. He's the PhD. When I think of something and it has to be verified, there's scientists that work with me and say, okay, well, I don't know how that guy thought of that, but let's do the calculation. And goes, hey, that really works. So he's a good friend of mine as well. I was in Flint, and when I first got there, and the energy around the machine was great, and everybody was coming to get water. But then I think it was about the 5th day he called me up on the phone, and there's sometimes I go on top of the machine. I'll take my ladder and I'll go up there and sit because I need a break. So I sit on top of the big box, and I was sitting up there, and he gave me a call on the phone, and nobody ever asked how I'm doing, because they always just think, oh, he's a tough dude. He's always getting through it. When he asked me how I was doing, I broke down and I cried like a baby. I had never seen. It finally came to the forefront of my mind at what I've seen. Every child that I saw come to get water was mentally degraded because of the lead. I saw every child. I didn't know what to say or think anymore. I saw people come up who had been down deep in the hood, who had been drinking water out of the pipes, and I mean, they were gone mentally. I'd never seen anything like that in the United States. I didn't know where I was. It broke my spirit a little bit. And so that's what made me work even harder to get this done and try to implement this technology there. Because this is going to happen. This is going to come to a neighborhood near you. This climate change is real, and we're in it. And our infrastructure is bad. The faster you get on this and get this system in and start growing your own food and get some solar power in, the better off you're going to be. And you're going to look back on this conversation 5 years from now. You're going to say, why didn't I do it? Because the people are looking back on the conversations just as you did that I had 5 years ago, and they're saying, why did we do it? And we're here today. Less than in all directions of me where I sit right now, there's people without water and there's no food in the grocery stores. But I've been sitting on the technology to get it done for 5 years.
That just touched me because I'm thinking about the kids, and yeah, I'm trying to gather my composure so I don't tear up, because I know that, because I'm in like the world of business and this, that, and the other, and the entrepreneur and the go get the bag and this, that, and the other. And, I got this, or I'm buying this shoe, or I'm buying this and that. But if the infrastructure fails and there's no internet, there's no banking system, there's no, you can't go take money out the ATM, you can't go to the bank, you can't, but nobody's taking money, this, that, and the other. And a lot of people may think that's too far-fetched. That's not true, because people in Texas woke up one day and was fine, and next day they weather changed, and now they're dealing with not having water. I don't think we understand the time that we're in. A lot of times I think we're missing the thing. And then it's like, to me, it's a responsibility as elders or older people to be making sure that we're putting things in place for our community.
You have two types of elders. You have that old guy who's standing on the corner who's drinking that 40, right? Mm-hmm. He's an old guy, but he's not an elder. He's old, but the elder. You have the elder that's got the experience, who's picked up the knowledge, who's willing to give that knowledge to you. Native Americans know this well. The people who are in education today, who've gotten out of education, they have a set of knowledge that you need to get your hands on before they are not here anymore. We have gone away into some type of system now where these people have pulled away because they feel they cannot share this information. I'm still in contact with these people, and what I have, I freely share. I freely share because I'm getting up into that. I'm getting up into that elder point. And when I get there, I hope they give me something to put on my shoulders. But I'm telling you, it's knowledge, and it's a gift that you give. It is so wonderful to see when you're talking to a group of students or children, or you're giving water to some people and you're explaining the machine to them, and they see that you care. There's a light that comes on in them that turns on a light in you, and that's my currency. That's how I get paid. That's what fulfills me. Where some people I work with, they'll say, Moses, the best thing that I see every night when I go to sleep at night is I look at my bank account and how much money I have, and I sleep peacefully at night. If I had that much money in the bank and I went to sleep knowing that people were around me were starving, I would feel like I was going to hell. Because even in the Bible, it says, It's easier for a camel to fit through the eye of a needle than a rich man through the gates of heaven. And when you have so many people in need, you need to be helping people today. And that's one reason why we're in the state that we're in, because we became very selfish. I try to be the least selfish person that I could possibly be, and I give up myself until it hurts. But it feels good at the same time.
You sleep well at night, and I'm pretty sure you're at peace. I guarantee you is. Okay, so let me just let you guys know I'm talking to Moses West. Yes, he is our modern day Moses. He has created a machine that makes water out of air. Is one that is sitting in Flint, Michigan. He's getting ready to deploy to California. We really want to see, hopefully, the legislative leaders in Texas, or, maybe somebody that has the resources to get some of those machines up in Texas and even in Jackson, Mississippi. As now that we have that going on now in Mississippi and then around the country before other communities experience this, especially now that we're hitting hurricane season. But make sure that you subscribe to the network, www.flynewbiequeen.com. We are the network for melanated people like you. Text Queens to 31996. When you see this broadcast, share it out on your Facebook page. Guys, this is critical information. I guarantee you that you are going to need, and you're going to wish that you would have listened to this broadcast fully, and you're going to want to go back and reference this broadcast. But also, if you're interested in money or learning more about money, go to flynubianmoney.com. Also, if you want to start your own business, go to flynubianbusiness.com. Now that I've paid the bills, I want to get into some questions, because this was a really good question from Rashida Anderson. What's the time frame, Mr. Moses, do you believe that before we have any major infrastructure collapse, or we'll need this technology placed in communities?
We need the technology today. The infrastructure is already collapsing. The forest fires that hit California, when the forest fire went over the top of the ground, we saw the big fires, right? Everybody saw those. Well, guess what's underground? We did the half-ass job of putting in plastic pipes. So when that 3,000 degrees went over those plastic pipes, what happened to them? They melted. What happened to the plastic pipes in the ground here? They cracked. So we have hundreds of miles of broken infrastructure under the ground, from California all the way to Texas, Georgia, Alabama, Florida, wherever that freeze went. It cracked pipes underground. We're going to be repairing that stuff for years. And then we get another cold freeze coming down, and the systems aren't ready for it again because we decided to go our own way here. This system's going to collapse. But then think about it too. This summer, we have a possibility of having a heat wave. So if we have a heat wave, everybody's going to have to be inside turning on their air conditioners. The grid will collapse again. What you need to understand is, if the grid collapses for any reason, you don't flip a switch and it comes back on. It takes months. When the grid goes offline, I don't want to think about what's going to happen. So how long before it happens? It's like playing roulette.
So we're playing Russian roulette right now, basically, is what you're saying.
Yeah, basically.
Okay, so now before I let you go, because I want to end on some good news, of course, but I knew this interview was so critical, especially for this time. And I appreciate you allowing me to interview you, to be one of the last interviews on the East Coast to interview you, because I'm sitting in Georgia and you're, in your place.
I'm in Texas.
Yeah, you're in Texas. Okay. I know we kind of talked about this. So I was like, I ain't gonna give, because you are a gem right now. And I don't think a lot of people understand this, but if nobody has told you, I'm gonna tell you thank you for all you've done, all that you're doing, all that your team is doing, and all that you will continue to do until you can move no more, because I can just see it in your spirit and in your heart and everything. So I want to say thank you. No one has ever said that. I'm going to be the first one to say it. And I know we will be in touch, because I got some people that's watching that's like, hey, we need more information. And we've been talking about just connecting with you, because we're trying to figure out some things just even on for our end as well. So, but I do want to kind of let you talk about this being the last interview. I think you may have an announcement today that you're going to make. Maybe so. So I'm going to go ahead and give the floor to you, and then let me know if you have any final words for all the viewers and people who will watch this after, because we will have a lot of people who will catch this after we go live.
Well, yes, I've been doing this for a long time, and I had to get the information out to everybody because I just needed the people to know that we have this source of water as the atmosphere, so that we're not going to run out. Whenever that humidity's up, we've always got water. I can't answer every call, every email that everybody sends to me, or everything on Instagram. I can't. It's just impossible. And I don't like to hire a bunch of people to go out and do that for me, because that's not me. I can pick and choose, and I'll personally say something every now and then, but I'm going to go back into, I have to go back into research mode, because what I've done now is I've taken the technology that I have now to the highest level that I can get it. And that's what the military and the federal government purchases from me. And that's what, that's where the technology is headed. But where I'm going now is there's the mass production of water, where we have been stuck. We're in that box that you see in Flint, and then the ones you see on my pages. No, I can do this now. I can do the same thing in 100,000 square foot building that I can do in that box. So while we're moving into this new phase of climate change, I'm moving into a new phase of engineering and design, and I've already patented all of this information. We've already bounced it off all the engineers, but now we can build solid structures in coastal areas where humidity is high, and we can make millions of gallons of water off of just solar power.
Wow.
And all that is now possible. And so this is one of the things that I'm going to be discussing and teaching over with the engineering departments in the school systems over the next few years. So I'm going back into research mode and less into social media mode.
Okay. So you're going back in the lab for a very critical reason. I've got to finish it. Yes, you have to finish. Yes, for a very critical reason. And I feel so actually blessed to have been able to do one of the last interviews that I know a lot of people will reference in the future, because this technology is going to be needed, whether you realize that it's going to be needed or not. And a lot of people are unaware until it hits. But the thing is, we have to prepare before it comes so that you're ready for when it does happen. But I know that I'm probably preaching to the choir when I say that, with you, but I know a lot of us don't think that it can happen to us. We're like, oh, that's Texas. That's Jackson, Mississippi. That's Flint. That's not my community.
This is true.
This is true. So go ahead.
When you put things out, what I put out into the universe years ago when I started this, it's a saying I've always had. I said, people say, why do you do this? I said, I want to save a life. I want to save a life. When I was in Puerto Rico, when it was time to go, people came up and said, you saved my life. And when I was in Flint, people came up and said, I didn't have enough money to buy water, and says, you saved us, because I didn't have enough. And then when the COVID virus hit and everybody was social distancing and everything, and nobody wanted to go out, hey, somebody had to go out and work. Somebody had to go do it. So I jumped on that plane, went out there and did that. And that's how I got the coming back home on the plane. Everybody wanted to be rude and nobody wanted to wear a mask. And that's how I got a virus the second time. It's because everybody was just jammed up in these planes. But it's what you put out into the universe and you meditate on each day. And I finally got the wish to save a life. And now that I'm able to put it out to all of y'all, at some point in time in the future, you all know how this all is going to work. It's going to be in your educational system. And we're doing the same thing that your grandparents did, your great-grandparents did, except we're using technology. They grew food behind their house. They had a well. They had a garden, they had a smokehouse, they had some hogs. But that's because we had fresh water in the ground and the dirt was good. But now we have technology. So we have technology that can make us water, technology that can help us grow food hydroponically, and solar power instead of kerosene lamps that can provide us electricity. So let's take the tools that the 21st century has given us, and let's go back to what our grandparents taught us, which is in our DNA, because we're all warriors. We are warriors. That's why we're still here today, because we're of that class of people who could survive adversity. And that's why we're here. So let's take this technology that's been put into our laps, and let's go back to being the warriors that we are, to take care of our people, take care of our nation, take care of our society. It's in us to do this.
Well, I can't add anything else to that. We are the warrior class. I think that goes along with the Fly Newbie Queens. And as we come to you guys and we talk to you guys and we talk about how we're in a special time right now, and we were born for a time just like this. I want to make sure that you are prepared, your family and everything. And guys, we will get through whatever we comes to us, because we have the resources, we're staying connected, we are communicating, and we are getting prepared. So that is what we are doing. I'm always making sure we're talking positively, and I love the fact that you said we're the warrior class. I love that. Like, that goes along with what we spread in this network. You just do not know how on point you are right now, Moses West. But I want to make sure you go ahead and give out, if there's, well, I would say people can't, you don't want people really contacting you, of course, but I'm definitely going to give out the information for the foundation. So if you want to give to Moses West Foundation, go to moseswestfoundation.org to make sure you go ahead and give, so he can really get some of these machines and communities we know that are underserved, and they, they're elected officials. Y'all know I'm Frank. May not quite frankly be wanting to make sure they have this machine in their community for other reasons. But if you have the resources, whatever, you can donate. Let's go ahead and donate to the foundation. I see people always, doing a lot of things to donate to. This is a very worthy cause. So I would say, go ahead and donate to the foundation.
An idea I was thinking of when we're sitting here talking is our community, we're always left behind. There should be an organization in the United States who should have at least 500 to 1,000 of these machines sitting on hand, ready to go. So every time someone needs water, all they got to do is have the people who are trained put 10 of these things on the back of a truck, run out to someplace, divide them up between neighborhoods, put some solar power on, and make water. Done. In the store. You don't have to wait for any big multinational company to bring in trucks of bottled water. Make your own water.
Okay, you got me thinking. I'm sorry, I had to write that down because now you got me thinking. And I get to thinking, and I know some of my people on the broadcast. Make sure you guys write that down for me. The next thing I want to say is definitely contact his contracting company. It's awgcontractingus.com. If you're looking to contract with Moses West and his contracting company, I know that he has a right-hand man that I know is awesome, and make sure that all those things happen smoothly, right? Do you want to shout him out real quick on this broadcast?
Yeah, Mr. Dexter Moon. I call him Top. For you guys in the military, you know what Top means. It's your top NCO. So he's the guy that kind of keeps me straight. I can come up with the wildest, craziest ideas, and my NCO, he pulls me back in. He keeps me grounded. He's a straight shooter, just an excellent guy. And I can honestly say that I wouldn't be sitting here today without Mr. Dexter Top Moon.
Okay, well, we thank you, Mr. Moon, for sure, because I understand how critical that is with having your right-hand man and working with teams and so forth. And yes, you definitely have to replay this. People are now joining the broadcast are like, I got to replay this. You need to replay this. You need to share it out. You definitely need to take time to listen to this. I always try to cut it off in about an hour. We're right at the top of the hour, but I want to give reference to Mr. West, and just make sure if there was any last words you want to say before we get ready to end the broadcast and I wrap things up.
We're gonna make it. It's not the end, guys. It's not the end. As strong as I took my niece and I, we went out and took her out, just asked her out, said, hey, come on, I want to see let's go dancing, let's hang out. And I went to a club and I saw all the brothers sitting out there in the club and all the guys in the club. And I was looking at them, I said, you know what? These are some badass dudes, man. You guys are warriors. Like I always said before, this is not the end. You're going to survive and you're going to make it, but you got to stick together. It's not always about the money. It's sticking together. It's the formation for the fight. And that's what we got to do now. We need the formation for the fight, and we're going to make it.
Okay, the formation for the fight. I feel like everybody need to hashtag that below. Put it in the comments. The formation for the fight. There has to be a new hashtag because I didn't even warrior class formation for the fight. Look, we get new hashtags today, guys. Like, yes, we're gonna need these rally calls though. Actually, really here soon because we are gonna have to really truly work together. So I just really want to encourage everybody to watch this broadcast, replay it, really kind of listen to what's going on because we already have a track record of what has happened. He's been out here since 2013, 2015, advocating, saying, hey, I created a machine. We need it. And now the sky is falling in Texas and it didn't happen. So you want to make sure that this happens for your community before the time is need. So I'm Ronique West with Fly Nubian Queen, the melanated network for people like you. Make sure you text Queens to 31996 so you can catch us anytime we go live on the network. Make sure you subscribe, share out this broadcast, and then like the broadcast. If you're interested in learning more about money, go to flynubianmoney.com. If you're interested in learning more about business, go to flynubianbusiness.com. You can follow me at Ronique West on Instagram. Moses West is going back in the lab because he's on a mission to create even more water for us to have, and so forth, and then get those STEM programs out for our children. So I thank you for all you're doing. This was such a critical interview today. I really appreciate you. Hats off to you, King, sir. I love seeing the hashtags formation for the fight. They're dropping it in the comments below. Let me put it up just so you can see you're starting a movement. Even if you didn't know you were, you are. So
hey, just look at a Zulu warrior. Just look at a Nubian warrior where they group together, shoulder to shoulder, everything there.
Everything there.
And they do the step. That's it.
They do the step. Man, we're ready. We're ready. We're ready. Well, everybody, I bid you a good day. Make sure you share this broadcast again. Thank you, Mr. Moses West. Have a great rest of your day. And I bid everybody well. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thanks for having me.